attained some stage of Aryahood, but when they heard this teaching, then they were liberated, just as the Venerable Khemaka. You notice the monks, 60 of them who heard the teaching, they attained Arahanthood. And Venerable Khemaka, who taught the teaching, he also attained Arahanthood. Because in the Suttas, the Buddha says there are 5 occasions, only 5 occasions when a monk attains liberation. One is when he's listening to the Dhamma, the pure Dhamma. And second is when he's teaching the Dhamma. Third is when he's repeating the Dhamma. Fourth is when he's reflecting on the Dhamma. And fifth only during meditation. So you see, out of 5 occasions when an Arahant attains liberation, 4 have to do with the Dhamma. It shows how important the Dhamma is. In fact, you find in the Suttas and the Vinaya, most of the monks who attain liberation, they attained it when they listen to the Dhamma. But of course, according to the Buddha's discourse, the precondition is that they must have the 4 jhanas. If they already have the 4 jhanas, their mind is very clear, then they listen to this type of discourse. Or like what we read yesterday, the Anatta Lakkhana discourse, then they will attain liberation. So this sutta is a bit amusing. Actually, these elder monks, they had a lot of respect for this Venerable Khemaka. They wanted to learn from him because he's so good at explaining the Dhamma. So they sent this young monk to go and ask him all these questions. Probably they thought, because there's so many of them and they are all senior monks, it's not proper that they go to him. So they sent the young monk. The young monk kept going back and forth so many times until this Venerable Khemaka got fed up. Bring my walking stick, I'll go myself. So the next sutta is 22.93. This sutta also gives a very beautiful simile. At Savatthi, the Buddha said, "Monks, suppose there was a mountain river sweeping downwards, flowing into the distance with a swift current. If on either bank of the river, kasa grass or kusa grass were to grow, it would overhang it. If rushes, reeds or trees were to grow, they would overhang it. If a man, being carried along by the current, should grasp the kasa grass, it would break off and he would thereby meet with calamity and disaster. If he should grasp the kusa grass, it would break off and he would thereby meet with calamity and disaster. If he should grasp the rushes, reeds or trees, they would break off and he would thereby meet with calamity and disaster. So too monks, the uninstructed ordinary folk, who does not see Aryans, etc., who is not learned or trained in the Aryan Dhamma, regards body as self, or self as possessing body, or body as in the self, or self as in the body. That body of his disintegrates, and he thereby meets with calamity and disaster. He regards feeling, similarly, perception, volition, consciousness as self, or self as possessing the aggregates, or the aggregates as in the self, or self as in the aggregates. The aggregates of his disintegrates, and he thereby meets with calamity and disaster. What do you think, monks? Is body permanent or impermanent? And they say impermanent. Rebels. Is what is impermanent, suffering or happiness? And they say suffering. Rebels. Is what is suffering subject to change? Impermanent, fit to be regarded as this is mine, this I am, this is myself. And they say no. Similarly, with feeling, perception, volition, consciousness, he asks them one by one. And then they say the answer as before. And then he says, when an Aryan disciple sees this, understands this, then he becomes disenchanted. And from being disenchanted, becomes dispassionate with the 5 aggregates. And he becomes liberated. So the simile here is a very beautiful simile. This man is swept along the river, and in desperation he is drowning. So he grasps at anything by the bank of the river. So happens there are 5 things there: the kasa grass, the kusa grass, the rushes, the reeds, and trees. But all of these are fragile. When he pulls at them, they just give way. And he's swept along by the current and he drowns. So this simile is a very good simile because we are swept along by the current of life. We flow in the stream of life. And we also, in the same way, we hold on to our 5 aggregates, just like this man trying to grasp at the 5 things. So we are grasping at our 5 aggregates, hoping they will be maintained, hoping that they will give us happiness. But instead, because they are impermanent, so they will, just like the reeds will break off, the grass will break off. So as we hold on to the 5 aggregates, they slowly disintegrate. They become sick and die. So just like the man is drowned, so we will also die. Lifetime after lifetime, we hold on to the 5 aggregates, and we swept along the river of life. So this is a very beautiful simile to make us understand how we are swept along this river of life. 22.94 at Savatthi, the Buddha said, "Monks, I do not quarrel with the world. Rather, it is the world that quarrels with me. A proponent of the Dhamma does not quarrel with anyone in the world. Of that which the wise in the world agree upon as not existing, I too say that it does not exist. And of that which the wise in the world agree upon as existing, I too say that it exists. And what is it, monks, that the wise in the world agree upon as not existing, of which I too say that it does not exist? Body that is permanent, stable, eternal, not subject to change. This the wise in the world agree upon as not existing, and I too say that it does not exist. Similarly, feeling, perception, volition, consciousness that is permanent, stable, eternal, not subject to change. This the wise in the world agree upon as not existing, and I too say that it does not exist. That, monks, is what the wise in the world agree upon as not existing, and of which I too say that it does not exist." Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying that firstly he does not quarrel with the world. The world quarrels with him. One who teaches the Dhamma does not quarrel with anyone in the world. So from this sutta you can understand because there were a lot of external sects in the India at that time. So when the Buddha became enlightened, there were already at least 6 famous teachers. And when the Buddha taught the Dhamma, it was very different from what they were teaching. So because they could not understand his Dhamma, they criticized him, they talked bad about him, they were jealous of him and all this. So because of all that backbiting, he says that they quarrel with him, but he does not quarrel with them. So you can see actually all holy men, if they start to teach actually, and what they teach is different, actually it's very dangerous. Like Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, he taught, his teachings were quite good. But because he was different from what was being taught at that time, a lot of people could not accept what he taught. So in the end, they crucified him. He died trying to teach something good. So in the same way, the Buddha also, a lot of people talk bad about him, were jealous of him and all that. So that's the risk when you try to teach the true Dhamma and it is contradictory to what others teach. And sometimes, like the Buddha, when he teaches the Dhamma, he has to contradict what the other teachers say, and he has to criticize what the others say, and he has to point out. Like there's one sutta where the Buddha says that fool Makali Gosala Putta, he leads so many people to the woeful plains of rebirth, just like a fish trap, what do you call it, pukat or what, where they have all these stakes, the bamboo, and the fish go along and they are led along until they go into a trap, and they enter the trap and they cannot come out. So in the same way, the Buddha said, this Makali Gosala Putta, that fool is bringing a lot of people into the woeful plains, and they won't be able to come out from there for a long time. So a lot of people don't study suttas enough. They think, oh, the Buddha is such a nice person, doesn't criticize people, doesn't talk bad and all that. But it's not. The Buddha is so straightforward. He dares to call a fool a fool. That's why he says he does not quarrel with people, but people quarrel with him. So he says the wise people in the world agree that you cannot find a being with the five aggregates that are eternal, that will live forever. And he says he agrees with that. And what is it, monks, that the wise in the world agree upon as existing, of which I too say that it exists? Body that is impermanent, suffering and subject to change. This the wise in the world agree upon as existing, and I too say that it exists. Similarly, feeling, perception, volition and consciousness that is impermanent, suffering and subject to change. This the wise people in the world agree upon as existing, and I too say that it exists. That, monks, is what the wise in the world agree upon as existing, and of which I too say that it exists. So here the Buddha is saying he agrees with the wise people in the world that the five aggregates, that means a being, body and mind, all of them will change. They give us suffering, they depend on conditions. There is, monks, a world phenomenon in the world to which the Tathagata has awakened and broken through. Having done so, he explains it, teaches it, proclaims it, establishes it, discloses it, analyzes it, elucidates it. And what is it, that world phenomenon in the world to which the Tathagata has awakened and broken through? Body, monks, is a world phenomenon in the world to which the Tathagata has awakened and broken through. Having done so, he explains it, teaches it, proclaims it, establishes it, discloses it, analyzes it, elucidates it. When it is being thus explained and elucidated by the Tathagata, if anyone does not know and see, how can I do anything with that foolish worldling, blind and sightless, who does not know and does not see? Similarly, with feeling, perception, volition and consciousness, is a world phenomenon in the world to which the Tathagata has awakened and broken through. Having done so, he explains it, teaches it, proclaims it, establishes it, discloses it, analyzes it, elucidates it. When it is being thus explained and elucidated by the Tathagata, if anyone does not know and see, how can I do anything with that foolish worldling, blind and sightless, who does not know and does not see? Let's stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying he teaches the five aggregates to the world, but there are some people who are foolish, blind and sightless. They have much dust in their eyes, and they do not understand. They don't see. They don't know. So he says he cannot do anything with them. It's not true that the Buddha can teach everyone, can help everyone to become enlightened. No. The Buddha says he only teaches tameable men. Only wise men, people who are not wise enough, when they hear the Dhamma, they cannot understand because they have their hindrances are too thick. The five hindrances. The Buddha says we are foolish, we are stupid because of the five hindrances. And when we eliminate the five hindrances through meditation, when we attain one-pointedness of mind, when our mind becomes focused, then the five hindrances melt away. Then we see things as they clearly are. Yatta